Today we're out at University City High School, home of the Centurions, where we're getting ready to talk to the head varsity baseball coach, Coach Chris Greer, along with head assistant coach Terrence Stanley, about their back-to-back San Diego Section Championship baseball program and defending state championship baseball program. Make sure y'all stay tuned in. We're here at University City High School, home of the Centurions, with the head coach of the baseball program, Coach Chris Greer, the reigning CIF San Diego Section champion and California State champion baseball coach. Coach, thank you for your time.
Appreciate the love, man.
For sure. Wanted to come out here and give Coach Chris the spotlight he deserves. Been in this baseball program for 6 years at UC, along with his right-hand coach, Terrence Stanley, with this program to build it up to what it is now. Coach, as a defending and reigning champion, taking over, you guys won the CIF San Diego section 2 years ago. You were the JV head coach. You take over last baseball season, earlier this year. You go back-to-back, and then you win the state. Talk to us about what that emotion of carrying the legacy and then becoming a state champ.
Everything was kind of already there, you know. Walked into a really good group of boys that, you know, already had success that year prior, made it to the CIF, won CIF that year, and then fell short, right. You know, being runners-up at the state tournament. So when I came in, it was, you know, it was a thing of beauty because all of us coaches still had, you know, our close relationships. Right. Everything stayed the same, you know, and we just plugged in new pieces here and there, you know, and was able to, you know, get over the hump and get that state championship.
So, taking over and being the head coach, how important was it to keep quality staff on your side, particular Coach Terrence Stanley, again, been here with you 6 years, growing with you within this program to now being right there, you know, as the second in command, essentially.
100%, man. That was vital. You know, Coach Terrence Stanley, someone that knows the game, you know, student of the game, you know, and from top to bottom, I mean, you know, Coach Rick Frank, Mike Perrat, you know, guys that just know tons and tons about baseball. Right. Even down to my JV level with Coach Miggy, you know, and then even at the freshman level with Coach Skip. Everyone here in this program, you know, as coaches, we're still learning. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and we're most importantly, we're just pouring into these kids, man.
Now, so you went to a high school that is definitely not in the neighborhood of where this high school is. So talk to us about where you came from your baseball career in high school, where you played at.
100%, man. Crawford High School. Shout out to the Colts. Right. You know, it was quite the experience, man. Yeah. Growing up in the inner city, you know, there was kids that played baseball, but the majority of everyone played basketball or football. Right. You know, so I was one of the few that did play. Right. But I mean, it was a really good experience. You know, lots of life lessons early. Right. You know what I mean? Crawford, love it.
Yeah.
You know.
And what's the dynamic, Crawford being in East San Diego, for those that know what East Dago is, to now we're essentially in La Jolla, which, coming from where we're from Southeast San Diego, from East San Diego, this is the suburbs, right? To a lot of people coming from where we're from. So what's it like being a part of such a program with, you know, the visuals, like, and the support? This is a big school that has a great booster program that supports you and your team. What is that like?
You know what, man, it's a blessing. You know, but keep in mind, you know, there's a lot of kids that are bussed in to this school, you know, coming from those mentioned areas, you know what I mean? So there's challenges as well. I think the location just kind of gives a false security of, you know, having money or what have you. But, yeah. You know, we're blessed with the wonderful athletic director. Shout out David Asuncion, you know, that looks out for us. Right. You know, and clearly, I mean, might not be the case around the county. You know, right. I can't speak for anyone other, but right. You know.
So when you were done playing with in your high school career, because we're touching on the coaching aspect of it, when did you decide you wanted to be a coach, and where did you start at?
Being a coach, man, it stems from just the love of the game.
Right.
You know, I had my success on the field. You know, played at a high level, and you know, just really couldn't leave it. You know, I was still playing in adult league, and you know, I had my son that was he was 8 at the time, and he, you know, mentioned he wanted to play some baseball. So, of course, I got involved. You know what I mean? There's always a shortage for coaching.
Right.
You know, so. And when I'm out here, man, it doesn't feel like any kind of work. You know what I mean? It's just out here having fun. You know, so I'm in my element when I'm out here. I'm able to pour back into these kids, you know what I mean? Lessons that I feel I should have learned growing up that I necessarily didn't have the opportunity or have that person to pour into me.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just a two-way street, man.
Which team did you start your coaching career with?
Yeah, so I actually came through the ranks here, UC Little League.
Oh, really? Okay.
Started out there, then me and Taryn, you know, reconnected. He had his travel club, SoCal Athletics.
Yeah. Shout out SoCal Athletics, Coach T.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, some real hitters came from there.
Absolutely.
You know, and I was out there with him for a few years, and then we, you know, just joined forces, and you know, we're here at the high school level. You know, but it's just one of those things where, you know, again, you know, Coach T, knowing him since 10 years old, you know what I mean, and having that relationship with him. So
who are some of your coaching inspirations that you got? You know, you went through the ranks where you played Little League all the way up. What are some of the coaches that inspired you that you kind of look back that I remember this coach said this or this coach said that, and it resonated with you, and now as your own head coach of a high school program?
I had quite a few coaches at Crawford High. Coach Conchi, but you know, the one I have most contact with is Robert Lovato.
Shout out Coach Lovato.
Coach Lovato, man, he's over at Madison. He's a really good mentor.
Yes.
You know, has been around the game for years. You know, he coached me my senior year, and that was 99, 2000. You know, so it's just one of those things where, you know, I find myself kind of, you know, saying some things he used to say to me.
There's not a lot of, you know, coaches that look like you in San Diego, you know, that's, you know, and we want to ask you, you know, what would you want to tell coaches that may be on the fence of like, hey, I want to become a coach, you know, that grew up in those inner cities, that play baseball and still have love for the game? Be like, what are some of the things you want to tell them about, you know, why it's good to be a coach?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, first and foremost, like, you know, if you have the time and the desire, you know what I mean? Yeah, let's get off the couch. You know what I mean? You can go to any assembly of kids that you see, you know, whether there's coaches out there or not, and those coaches need help.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where, you know, ultimately if there's the desire, I mean, go and do it. You know, it's more rewarding than you know.
What advice, regardless of what school any kid goes to that's watching this, what advice you want to give them from someone who's played, went up the ranks, that was a coach, a championship winning coach? What advice would you give any kid out there watching?
Show up, you know, show up. We was talking about this morning at 6:30 in the morning at our team workout. Standards over feelings, excuse me. You know what I mean? There's times where you might not feel like it.
Right.
You know, alarm goes off, you feel tired, and you convince yourself you're sick. But have standards. You know what I mean? The standards is what gets you up and gets you out of bed. That gets you to show up. And then when you show up, guess what? You're not sick. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're well off. You know what I mean? So just show up, continue to make those investments. You know, and that's all it is.
Well, we're very thankful for the time. Again, very big fan. He coached my son. Some development as well, my son Tank, so I'm very grateful for the love you always show myself and my son throughout the years, you and Coach T, and championship, city champion coach, state champion coach, first time as a varsity head coach. He won it all, doing his best to defend his title. Got the big bullseye on you once again, Coach.
100%,
You had the bullseye on you starting it, and all the adversity, you overcame that and won it the 2 years ago, you guys lost in the state. You were at the helm. You won state. So big shout out again, Coach Chris, UC High School, home of the Centurions. Thank you for your time, Coach.
Appreciate
Much love.
the love, brother.
Yep, all day. Thank you. All right. With assistant coach, Coach T is what everybody call him, Terrence Stanley. Coach.
How we doing?
Hey, great. How you doing? Thank you for your time. Coach, you've been a part of this program over going on 6 years now. Helped lead them to back-to-back CIF San Diego Section championships and 2 state appearances. Lost 2 years ago, and you won just recently in the past spring.
Yes, sir.
Coach, I can't imagine how the journey was getting here, but talk to us about the coaching journey and what's it like being a part of this program.
I mean, first and foremost, blessed. We're blessed to be, first playing the game we love.
Yeah.
Being a part of having longevity in the game that otherwise, might not have been the case. So being a part of this organization, this program that supports, what our goals are, and what we're out here trying to do for these kids is that's number one. So we're definitely blessed to have that.
So working with Coach Chris and then him obviously taking the helm and for the coach that retired or whatever the case was, being a part of that, someone you grew up with, how has that impacted you as just your coach, the maturation you as a coach, knowing I know this guy since we were 10 and now we're championship winning coaches together.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can't write it, right? Just like you said, we've been playing ball together since Little League.
Right.
We've known each other since around 8, 10 years old. And to be able to leave a mark with somebody that you grew up in the game with is, there's no better feeling, right? And that just goes to show you how poetic baseball can be, right? It's an amazing game, and in our life journey to come back full circle and to teach some of the life experiences on and off the field that we've been able, blessed to have.
Yeah.
Again, man, it's there's no better feeling. Incredibly blessed.
So where you grew up at, along with Coach Chris, obviously didn't look like where you're coaching at now. So the dynamic of coming from such an area to being coaching in a different kind of area, and some of these kids don't know what it's like where you grew up at, and you kind of, like you say, guide them a little bit off the field. What's that dynamic like that you guys bring to the table for some of these kids that don't know anything about growing up in the inner city?
Well, I think it allows us to tap into their mindset and where they're at. Whether or not it's a cultural thing, whether they've come from that environment or not, it has a long-lasting effect on the culture. And us coming from that environment allows us to tap into the mindset of these young men and speak their language. Without it being something that seems forced, which is another reason why they embrace this. It's a kind of a balance, right? And I think that's what has allowed us to give us kind of a free reign to allow them to be who they are genuinely, but still have the respect to pull on and tug on those reins when we need to, and tighten it, tighten that ship when we need to. So it's been a real good balance of the two.
So some of the things that you've implemented with this program and to get it to the high level of back-to-back champions and defending state champion, the adversity that Coach Chris and yourself, I can't imagine some outside entities that aren't happy with your success. How do you dodge that negative energy to continue to stay forward, move forward in a positive way?
I mean, it gives us an opportunity to practice what we preach, right? We're not going to dodge anything. We're going to go head towards it. We're not here to dodge obstacles, and dodge adversity. That's where growth and development lies, right? So it gives us an opportunity to do just that, practice what we preach. You're always going to have to deal with adversity on and off the field at some point in time in your life, and it's better to learn how to deal with that rather than to run away from it.
Earlier, one of the players, you guys were talking, and you guys have mandatory workouts at 6:30. This is football season. It's still August, and the baseball team is working out 6:30 in the morning. And the reason I brought that up is because you also, in addition to being a baseball coach, also a personal trainer and baseball development coach as well. Talk to us a little bit about that and the business that you started and created with that passion.
More than anything, I just wanted to be able to provide an opportunity to develop a well-rounded athlete on the baseball field. Early on when I first started, SoCal Athletics,
Yes.
and whatnot, I learned early on that we were receiving a lot of one-sport athletes. Right,
Yeah.
they were really becoming specialized in the sport of baseball. Which is great on one aspect of it, but we're losing out on a well-rounded athlete. A lot of the great things that came from us back in the day was because we played 3 or more
Yes.
sports, right? So the things that we develop athletically on the football field or the basketball court, we were able to translate finally onto the baseball field, and that's what made us so great, right? So that's what was the catalyst for me to start my athletic development program.
Okay.
And here we are, about 12 years later,
Yeah.
and it's just something that I implement to the kids. More than anything, it's to make sure that we plant the seed of building the relationship between them and the weight room.
Yes.
Right. If they want to have any type of chance of surviving at a high level, whether it be D2, D1 high school baseball or beyond.
Yeah.
They need to fall in love with the weight room, lifting weights, a strict regimen between them and the kitchen as well. And then recovery and teaching them all of these things and all of these aspects that will help drive them to the next level if that's what their plan is.
Right. And how we grew up, there was no recovery. You just went to practice or you went to the game, you went home.
Exactly.
There was no parents watching like there are nowadays. This is big time stuff. But so what is the name of the company and that you do for your development?
I Train You, which is
I
basically
Train You.
I Train University. I wanted to feel, just as that, a university, a place where you're coming to build a foundation of skills, of knowledge, not just, again, in the weight room, but again, with diet, with and nutrition, with recovery, with stretch and, mobility and flexibility, all the above, right? All the above that which will be translatable onto the field.
And they don't necessarily have to go to UC High School. You can train anyone who's willing to come over, regardless of age or school or whatnot.
My goal is to provide a safe environment for athletes to develop. And if they're a San Diego youth athlete, whether it doesn't even have to be baseball.
Right.
I have a number of basketball, football players. I have a couple golfers. I have a couple tennis players. So quite literally, as any youth athlete that wants to develop in San Diego, I'm more than willing and able to help you.
And for people that need more information that's watching, where can they find that at, Coach?
You can look us up at itrainusd.com. There is a live website there. You can check us out at the same handles on Instagram, TikTok, and all the social media sites.
Right on. And before we get in, we want to keep it light, keep it breezy around these parts. What's one thing that people don't know about Coach Chris since you grew up with him, and that's your guy. You guys been coaching through the ranks together. What's one thing or a little Coach Chris-ism that people don't know?
I'll give you 2 things
There
that
it
you
is.
probably wouldn't know. He's a phenomenal golfer, and
I went golfing with both of them, so yes, they're really good.
believe it or not, and he's got a mean crip walk.
Coach Steve, thank you for your time, Coach.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
much love.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. There goes Sports Show.